Over here you can see I'm having a class A. I'm also having a class B that is inheriting my class A. So I can say, sorry, I'm having my class B that is inheriting the properties of A and B. And then I'm having a class C that is inheriting the properties of B, which is again inheriting the properties of A. So now all my class has a display function of its own. So basically these three are overridden method, because if I'm calling this display method using my C class object, this display method will always be printed. So the concept of dynamic method dispatch comes into picture. According to dynamic method dispatch, you create a reference variable of class A, and whatever object you bind with this reference variable, if you are binding the object of A class, the display method of A class will be printed. If you bind the object of B class to this reference variable, the display method of B class will be called. If you bind the object of C class, then the display method of C class will be called. So you have to note one thing, that the reference variable is always made for the top class in the hierarchy, or the grandparent class or the parent class, whatever the topmost class in your hierarchy. Over here, the topmost class I am having, or the starting class I am having, is A. So let us just check out our main method. In my main method, you can see I have called three objects of my classes. Class A object is small a, class B object is small b, and class C object is small c. I have also created a reference variable of A class. And now if I'm attaching this object A to my reference variable and using this, okay, just change it to ref.display, then the value will be printed as class A. Similarly, if I'm attaching this B variable or the B object with ref variable, then ref.display will print the answer as class B. Similarly, if C object is assigned to this reference variable, then reference variable.display will print the value of class C. So basically at the runtime, when you have to decide which display function or which overridden method of class has to be printed, so for that object, you can bind it to your reference variable, and then the reference variable will assure that the overridden method of the class object will be printed. Now let us understand what are abstract classes. Abstract classes are the classes where you give the definition of some of the methods, or you are having some methods that do not have any definitions. So just check it out. If I'm having my class A and I'm having two methods over here, so you can say that the area method does not have any definition, whereas my perimeter method is having some definition over here. Now the basic property of abstract classes that whichever class is inheriting my abstract class, it has to give the definition of all the methods that basically in your abstract class. Now just check it out that my class B is inheriting this abstract class A. So it has to define all the methods of my abstract class. So there are basically three methods that I can see so far. There is this constructor, there is this area method, and there is this perimeter method. So using the super keyword, I'm assigning the values to my x and y. I'm giving the definition to my area method, some definition over here. And then I'm again redefining my perimeter method over here. Also note that when you have methods in your abstract class, then the class is always abstract, or vice versa. that if your class is having an abstract keyword in front of it, then all the methods defined within the class needs to be abstract. Now let us see how we are going to use it. We have created an object of a class. Now it will generate an error because you see that class A also has some empty definitions or some semi-definitions of some method. So the property is you cannot create an object of an abstract class. So when you will try to create an object of an abstract class A, it will show an error. So next, what I can see is I have created an object of my B class, and using this object, I am initializing the values of my abstract class X and Y. Now I have created a reference variable of my abstract class and have assigned the object of my B class to this reference variable. So now when I am using this B.area, the statement X into Y will be printed, and using this B.perimeter, the statements of perimeter functions will be printed. So basically you can say that we always create abstract class when we don't know that our program will be having how many number of methods, or you are just aware of the method names that you are going to use in your programs, but you do not have some definitions for that. That is the case when we have to declare these abstract classes. Next is final keyword. My final keyword can be used for three purposes. We have already seen that the final keyword was used to define some constants. Second, we are going to see the final keyword is used to prevent overriding. So how this is done? If I'm having my class A and class B that is inheriting my class A, then I'm having this main method and I've created an object of my B class. Using this B class, I'm calling the display function of my class B. So basically this method will be called and the value will be printed as class B. Now there will be no fighting as to this display function has to be called or this display function has to be called. Why? Because I've used a final keyword in the front of the definition or the name of display function. So what final does it? Prevents the inheritance of this method. So if I can say that I am having a class A and I am having a display function that is final, and similarly I'm having a class B which also has a display function. While B is inheriting the class A, it will not inherit this display function because the final is written in front of this. So this is how you can prevent the overriding of functions. This is an important concept because when your compiler does not have to fight for which display function to choose and it already have a display function, it knows that there is one display function that has to be printed. It can use this function as an inline function. So basically overheading or the time consumption will automatically be reduced. This is also the reason that the final keyword is useful. Now let us see the third use of final keyword. So the final keyword is also used to prevent the inheritance. So now what we have discussed is that in this class A, there was a find function that was having this final keyword. So this method was not inherited by my B class. Now let's suppose I'm having some class which I don't want any other class to inherit. So let us see here. I'm having a class A and then I'm having a class B that is inheriting my class A. It has a display function and also my class A is having a display function. Similarly, I'm having a class test. It has a main method. And now I'm creating an object of B class and calling this display function. So this display function will be called. So now how this happened? When I have introduced this final keyword in the front of my class A and my class B is trying to inherit my A class, it gets an error because it is not able to inherit my class A. So now also note that in my final class, all the methods defined are also final, which means that if you're not able to inherit a class, you're also not able to inherit all the methods or the variables that are defined inside that class. So this is how the final keyword can be used to prevent the inheritance in my Java.